Welcome to On Topic Retro, episode 5. I'm John Cummins. Joining me tonight is Seth Sturgill and Shannon Eno. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having us. Or
Yeah,
me.
Yeah.
man. No, look, you can speak for me too, Shannon. That's great. No, I'm happy to be here too. I'm stoked, man. Can I just say, John, you've been killing it with this show, dude. This has been awesome. On
Yeah.
Topic Retro is like a genuinely good show. I love the little mini-sodes that you do. I've been so impressed with this show, man. Well done. I'm so thrilled to be a part of it.
Well, I appreciate it. It's been kind of just a passion project, a hobby for me.
Yeah, man.
I'm not a professional, so I'm just having fun and uh, speaking getting the word out on some things that people might be interested in.
I love it.
Great.
But yeah, speaking of, tonight we'll be thoroughly and enjoyably going through the Donkey Kong for the Game Boy, which unofficially is called Donkey Kong 94. More people probably know it by that name than its actual name. I know
Right.
in Discord we had some confusion, like pointing people to where they could, grab it on 3DS, and they're trying to find it using Donkey Kong 94, and you won't really find it that way because that's not its actual name.
Just Donkey Kong. Just Donkey Kong for the Game Boy.
Which is, I mean, it's kind of funny because it's not even. I mean, there was another Donkey Kong game in '94 as well, so
That's true. Another pretty big Donkey Kong game in
yeah, another pretty big
1994.
one.
Yeah.
But yeah, as we do, we're gonna go around the table here and talk a little bit about our experiences with the game. They don't have to be a past or present or both. I mean, you could do both, just however just your overall experiences. So, Shannon, we'll start with you.
Yeah. So I know I'd kind of heard about this game for a while. I didn't have it when I originally had my Game Boy growing up or anything. Um, I honestly, for years, just thought it was just a straight up port of Donkey Kong Arcade. Same thing I played on Nintendo and in the arcade and everything else. And I'd always liked it, but I was like, well, if I'm going to get a game, and when you're a kid, you only have, you know, you only get games on special occasions, back then.
Hmm.
So just kind of overlooked it for years, and then somebody's like, "Well, that's just the start of it." And so I was like, "All right." So I actually picked it up a little over a year ago, and quickly discovered just how amazing this game was, and how it's not at all Donkey Kong arcade port.
No,
So really enjoyed it.
only in the
Played
beginning.
through it then, and yeah, it still plays great. It's just such a great game.
Awesome. Seth, you go for it now. I
Yeah.
know you got
So
some.
let me tell you guys a little bit about me, a little bit of my superhero secret origin backstory. All right. So I growing up, I definitely played a lot of video games as hand me downs from my uncle. My uncle Aaron. Shout outs as always to my uncle Aaron. I give him all the shout outs in the world. He is the reason I am the person I am today. Like he would give me his hand me down stuff. And it was always like when he moved on to something else, I got the old thing. So when he got a Super Nintendo, well, I get the NES, right? When he gets the N64, I get the Super Nintendo. When Game Boy Advance comes out, I get the Game Boy, blah, blah, blah. So I inherited his original Game Boy and a bunch of his games. And he had, the classic stuff, the Tetris and whatnot. But Donkey Kong is one of them. And just like you're saying, Shannon, just like I think a lot of people, like that game when it came out, when you're talking about 1994, I know I'm a little bit younger than you guys. In 1994, I would have been 8, and yeah,
Nope.
no, I would have been 7. And I remember playing that and just thinking like, yeah, this is cool. This is Donkey Kong, right? And then very soon after, it's like, oh no, it's not just Donkey Kong, y'all. Like this just isn't the bog standard Donkey Kong. This is very, very different. And I remember just being really taken by Mario's like movement in that game,
Yeah.
the uniqueness of the puzzles. Some of it was too hard. Like some of it was, I definitely did not beat the game when I was younger. Some of it was hard for me, but like I just remember being really into the kind of vibe of Donkey Kong 94, but it was quickly usurped in my mind by the other, auspicious Donkey Kong game that was out at that time. But now, in retrospect, now that we get to look back at this stuff and appreciate it for what it is versus some of the contemporary stuff, now it's like I go back to it now and I'm like, oh my goodness, this holds up so beautifully. So I'm excited to talk about it.
This might be a little bit of a hot take, and I'll probably get some flack from Dan, but I think the Donkey Kong for the Game Boy in '94 was actually a better game, like
Shots fired, dude.
better game than
Shots
Donkey Kong
fired.
Country. Like they're both fun, but if the controls to me are like just how clean Donkey Kong '94 plays. There's almost more game there, overall. I can beat Donkey Kong Country in a couple hours. You can't beat
Yeah.
Donkey Kong '94 in a couple hours. It's going to take you a while to go through those puzzles. Uh, it's just it's a fantastic game. I had it as a kid. I think I had Donkey Kong Country first, and then I got this game later on by some means. I don't even remember. I definitely didn't beat it when I was a kid either. As I mentioned in Discord, some of those last puzzles are just horribly hard to try to get through all the timing
dude.
and things. But I definitely went back to it in my 20s and played through it all the way through at some point. And then to get ready for this show, I played through almost twice because I played about halfway through the game and my save battery died on my cartridge, on my original cartridge. Yeah.
That's rough, man.
Perfect timing, right?
Always. This stuff always happens to me. So yeah, I got plenty of practice. I played so I ended up, I got it on the 3DS so I could finish playing through it the rest of the way. But of course I had to start from the beginning. So, but yeah, no, I totally forgot how difficult some of those puzzles towards the end. Even some of the ones in the middle, the airplane world is especially difficult, where you're constantly getting blown by the wind.
Oh yeah,
you have to make all your moves. You have to time everything just right because you're getting blown away. But
yeah, wind mechanics in games, ugh.
especially
when I'm trying to solve a puzzle at the same time.
Yeah, got to think too.
There's plenty of those puzzles where you have to burn a life just so you can see the whole puzzle. Get far enough, realize you went the wrong way, and then end up having to eat it to get back to where you were.
Full disclosure, like I've been playing this game a lot recently, gearing up for this episode on a 3DS Virtual Console, and like full disclosure, save states all over the place. Like I've been using save states like crazy, y'all. Like you're right. I do that. I make a save state the second I get into the stage, and then I do that kind of quick run to figure it out. I'm like, all right, cool, revert. Now I can pull it off.
I played through the whole game and I forgot that I could do save states on the 3DS Virtual Console.
So it's so nice.
It blew my mind, or escaped my mind after I was like, oh yeah, you get save states with Virtual Console. I totally forgot. But I mean, you generously get so many lives in that game, so burning lives isn't as big of a deal. I think by the time I finished, I had like 80 lives.
Yeah, you start really racking them up if you're getting all the little collectibles in every stage. Yeah. You're not
get the slot machine
just like in Donkey Kong Country. Like it's really not that hard to rack up the lives in Donkey Kong games. You need them sometimes, but you end up racking them up.
Yeah. Which we'll get to all the ins and outs of how the game works and all those things later in the show. But I think we've got experiences out of the way, and it sounds like we all have some pretty good ones with this game. No negative experiences. One of these times, I'm going to get a person on the show that just doesn't like the game but wanted to be on the show anyway, and I'll get like some or have some kind of horror story of an experience as a kid, like for a game, but end up loving it later or something. That's kind of what I'm waiting for. Eventually, I'm sure I'll find it. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and head into some game discussion. This will be just a general overview of the game, from development to we'll talk a little bit about story, gameplay, and we'll just knock this one out and go all the way through it. This game was released on July 22nd, 1994 in the US, June 14th, 1994 in Japan, and September 24th of 1994 in Europe. So this it's kind of surprised me. Usually in this time period, games are kind of more staggered on their release, but this one was a pretty tight window for all three regions.
I guess
Uh,
not a lot to translate.
that's
Yeah, not a
true.
ton of localization, I guess,
Yeah.
right? There's not a whole lot of like dialogue and like deep
How
narrative
much?
in the game or anything.
Yeah, I guess you have to change the help
Right.
Yeah.
to different
Yeah.
languages. That's about it. Uh, yeah, no, the game was developed by Nintendo EAD and produced by Miyamoto for the Game Boy, and it's, as we've talked about, loosely based on the 1981 arcade game Donkey Kong. It starts out that way, and you learn very quickly this isn't your grandma's Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Uh, the the game is recognized by its working title, Donkey Kong 94, which we've mentioned that. So many people, I'll I just mention it as Donkey Kong, and no one knows it that way. So this is just kind of the moniker that it's assumed over time. The gameplay is also similar to the original arcade game. It's not a one to one comparison. There's lots of different things, new things that Mario can do. Like I know when you first start playing the game, you just instantly you limit yourself because you don't
Yeah.
know about the move set. So you're just playing
Right.
Donkey Kong as you would in the arcade.
I got to tell
But
you,
oh,
when I
go
first
for it.
played and saying that, that's exactly what I was doing, and
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, all right, the first four levels I did just like I would in the arcade, and then we switch up, and I'm like, what the heck am I supposed to be doing here? Like I'm just using those moves was not working, and then I was like, how do I got to pick up a key and I mean, I didn't realize there was going to be Mario 2 element, control
Oh
elements
yeah.
too,
Yeah.
of picking stuff up. And, I was like, wait, I can actually jump on some of the enemies and lift them up and like lift up barrels to throw back. Like, I mean, it just, and I think, I don't remember if I ended up looking up a video or looking up something. It was like, oh, wait, okay, I can flip Mario upside down and then he can jump higher and I can do this and I can do, and it's like, oh, okay. Now we can get somewhere.
Oh yeah. No, it's definitely. I know my first revisit, I lose these things every time. Every time I go back to a game, if it's been longer than a year, it's a brand new game to me. A lot of
Yes.
times,
I've
and I
slept
don't
since
know.
then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but when I was playing it on my original cart before my battery died, I was playing the game like it was Donkey Kong arcade game. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning before I started remembering some of the moves. When I get to the 3DS, the Virtual Console, to play my playthrough again, I mean, I blew right through the first four levels instantly because now I can jump like all the way across
Right.
the level almost without, I can skip parts of it without even trying.
Yeah.
You don't need to use ladders anymore on the first level of Donkey Kong. You could just literally jump right up the rungs
Jump
and
straight up.
yeah,
Yeah. It's
just
it's
jump straight
actually
up.
it's really brilliant the way they dole that stuff out too, because while you do have like that move set available, you don't know that it's there, but the game will kind of slowly over the course of the, I don't want to call it the story, but like the kind of like
The
mid-world
cutscenes.
cutscenes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll kind of showcase like this stuff that turns out you can do and will need to do for the puzzles in the following world. So that's really brilliant.
Yeah.
And something I was kind of disappointed in with the 3DS Virtual Console is its lack of, like, it should have been the Super Game Boy version.
Right.
It's totally available. I mean, they could have had it on there, but you get the plain Jane, Game Boy version, which I mean is still
Mm-hmm.
good. But whenever you're playing your 2DS or 3DS, and this is like an advanced hardware, and they're giving you the Game Boy version over the Super Game Boy,
Yeah.
Right.
and the reason I mention that is because this is the first game to take advantage of the Super Game Boy's technical enhancements for Game Boy games. You get the nice arcade border, uh, all kinds of nice colors. The color palette
It
for
is
the Super Game
amazing.
Boy version is very beautiful.
Yeah, it was actually that's actually how I first started playing it. I got it home and I had been told like, yeah, if you got a Super Game Boy, use it. And and I was like, oh wow, that's cool, because it does. It looks like the nice arcade board set out,
Yep.
and the color, like you said, like the colors are some of the best that on that Super Game Boy adapter.
Yeah, it's something that, I mean, playing this game on the original Game Boy when you're a kid, you don't have any other choice. But in the modern age, there's definitely way better ways to play this game. I mean, I have a backlit Game Boy now. I played on Super Game Boy. Uh, I'm pretty sure that if you played it in your Game Boy player, you get the same effects as if it's a Super Game Boy.
I would assume so.
I
Yeah.
would have to check that out. I haven't done that in a while with an original Game Boy game. I usually play Game Boy Advance games on there. Um, but yeah, no, it's awesome. If anybody out there is like me and you have a Game Boy operator, the Game Boy operator uses the Super Game Boy,
Oh,
the
cool.
color palette. So that was a really cool thing too, because that's how I was playing it originally. I was bouncing back and forth between my operator and my Game Boy. So
Oh yeah, I was just, I mean, look, when I was a kid playing that on Game Boy, I was just I say this all the time, like, I'm just happy to be here. Like, I'm just happy to have this on
oh
the
yeah,
handheld. Like, I'm stoked to just have this game on my handheld.
And it looks great even on just a straight up Game Boy too.
it does.
I mean, it really, really holds up well. It's not.
Yeah.
Everything's very detailed still.
So, I mean, if you really think about it, if you step back, I mean, I realize the Game Boy lasted, a decade, but
Long
this was
time.
already 5 years into the Game Boy's life when this game came out. So that would be like the difference. Like that'd be like getting a Switch game today, and
Right.
comparing it to what Nintendo could do whenever Odyssey released. It's a They've had a lot of time to be able to build all these things up and create like a just a very graphically good looking game. There's lots of Game Boy games that look like do like
Yeah.
they're they're not the way you want to play. Like anytime there was a Game Boy version of like an NES game, it's not the right way to do that. You want to play the NES version most of the
Right.
time.
Yeah. They did a good job, though. I mean, Nintendo in general in the Game Boy era. I was talking about this. I don't remember which. We're all in like so many different discords. I don't remember where this conversation came up, but we were talking about kind of like design within limitation and how good Nintendo is at doing that. And like,
Yep.
I think the Game Boy super accentuates that. And this game in particular, like this game, there are a few levels that involve like some amount of scrolling or whatever, but a large amount of the levels in the game are just single screen, just like the old
Oh
Donkey
yeah.
Kong games. And I think that's really cool. I think that just really showcases the amount of depth and puzzles and level design you can get in, by and large, just a single screen, to say nothing of, the game's got like boss fights and stuff, and like they pull off a lot with a little in this game.
They do. It's it's insane. I mean the Game Boy is like the little engine that could. I mean
Mm-hmm.
it's the reason why I love handhelds as much as I do today. Was playing a Game Boy as a kid. Like that's where I gravitate towards is handheld gaming for the most part.
Well, not
Um,
only does it sound good, or I mean look good, but it sounds good too.
oh yeah,
Like
it
the
does.
music is
Music's
really
great.
good, and while we're talking about Super Game Boy, I mean, popping it into the Super Game Boy, and your other ways of doing, pulling that Super Game Boy functionality, you actually get some different sound effects too.
Oh, do
Like
you? That's awesome.
you can actually, like, Pauline's actually calling for help instead
Yeah.
of
Instead of it being like a
making a
little
Oh,
noise.
cool.
Yeah, which was
yeah,
kind of
you
a
do get
cool.
enhanced audio too. That's one of the benefits of the Super Game Boy for some games.
That's sick.
Uh, yeah, that's like I said. The game's not overly complicated. There's not like this crazy secret development story. It was just a very well produced game at a time where Game Boy games were kind of uh, few and far between. Like good first party ones were at that time. So like it kind of came out at a welcome time for the Game Boy. And I did put a little bit of story in here, like just the little blurb that I could find. But so how the story goes is just like the original Donkey Kong arcade game. You play as Mario, and you're trying to save Pauline from the clutches of the mighty Donkey Kong himself. I mean, technically by today's lore, he's not Donkey Kong; he's Cranky Kong, but
Right.
he's the OG Donkey Kong.
It's true.
And yeah, so that's the other part of the game is there's no real story being told. It's all done by the little cutscenes, like we were talking about, in between each four uh, stages inside one of the worlds. And those cutscenes are pretty hilarious a lot of times, like the little obstacles that get thrown in Mario's way as he's trying to figure it out. But again, they're also learning tools to show you how the next set of levels are going to work. They add
I
new
love
tools to
that.
your tool belt, and it's funny because you might rack your head on a level not understanding what you need to do, and you just have to go back and remember. Or we live in the day of YouTube. You can go back and rewatch that cutscene, and it pretty much tells you what you need to do. Uh, there's no. I don't have the manual for it. You could, I don't know, on the virtual console doesn't have the manual you can pull up.
It's a good question. I think so. I think you can pull up the manual for most of those games. I'll check as we're talking.
So
But
one of
yeah,
the things, like pulling the switches, like at first I didn't realize how to do that. Like you have to hold B and go the opposite direction. That wasn't the first thing I thought of to do. I was like trying to just hit a button and seeing if it would flip the switch. So that's something that having the manual would have been handy for.
right. Yeah, and I mean, they definitely they kind of rely on that. So that there is a manual for I'm looking at it right now for the 3DS Virtual Console, but it's not like a scan of the old school manual. But it does
Yeah,
tell
it
you
just
like basic
there's
controls and
That's too
yeah,
bad.
yeah, yeah. That's one. This is a game that I think at some point it's one of my favorite Game Boy games. I'll probably buy
Oh
a
yeah.
complete in box copy at some point. In fact, I'll
Yeah.
probably buy a complete in box or a new one, and I might even give my other copy away at some point. But uh, it's just one of my favorites. It's definitely worth having the complete in box and having the manual and everything. The box is really nice looking too for a Game Boy game.
Yeah, I love the box art. I love the music, the sprite work and stuff. But I think like my favorite thing is, and I know we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but like that game just feels so good to play, man. Like it holds up so unbelievably well. Like I couldn't believe it. Like playing it again here these past few days, kind of reacquainting myself with it. I couldn't believe how well it hold up in terms of gameplay. Like
I feel like, sorry to interrupt you, but
oh no, yeah, it's Mario. Mario's got probably the most complex move set, at least in 2D Mario, in this game versus any other 2D Mario style game. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, could you imagine having this kind of move set in any of the NES games? Like
Right.
it would be crazy.
yeah, he definitely he has more movement than anything else, Mario related at that time. Um, I mean, the way he moves and for a Game Boy game, I mean, it's just like there isn't another Game Boy game that moves as well as that one. I think just the control, everything is just so fluid.
Well, it's
Yes.
smooth, so smooth. They once you get the little flick jump down, you have it made. Like you can just fly through the levels,
Oh
which is
yeah.
one of the yeah. I mean, there's some parts in the game that you have to use it for. So like you learn it eventually, but you're forced to get it down. But it's definitely something that just makes quick work of a lot of the especially the boss levels where you're trying to reach Donkey Kong. You can
Mm-hmm.
just kind of fly through there.
Oh yeah, dude, like by the end of this game, you're running around as Mario, you're doing like handstands, you're letting enemies like bounce off of your feet, you're jumping, you're back flipping, you're grabbing onto wires and spinning around and doing like high jumps
You
and
get
like
trapeze in there and all kinds of
yeah,
stuff.
trapeze swinger like Mario and whatnot. You're picking up barrels and throwing them back at Donkey Kong. It's like like it's awesome, and like to have a genuinely great and smartly designed puzzle game wrapped around those mechanics that still feel so good today. Like it's awesome. Like it's really brilliant the way there's one level in particular where I was playing this last night, and I think it's in world like 3 or 4, and there's a level where you have to manipulate these bugs that are walking. There's like a
Oh
bridge
yeah.
that quarters off the bugs, and
Yep.
you have to manipulate and let out some and then close it back. I was like, this is just like a brilliant puzzle game, dude. Like you could stack this up next to any other puzzle game releasing in 2022. Like it is just a really smartly designed game on top of how good it feels, how good it looks, how good it sounds. Like it's just really smartly designed.
I mean, even the water world is pretty well
Yeah.
done. Like with uh, waterfalls, you have to like swim up the waterfall, and just the whole thing just is crazy. Like how they fit all this on a Game Boy cartridge.
You would be shocked. This has got more variety than basically any other Mario game, and it's just like, and this was supposed to just be like a little Game Boy port of the arcade Donkey Kong, but it's like they took that and they said, you know what? No, like we have learned, 2D platformers have come a long way since 1981,
Yep.
so like we were taking some of this stuff because when you play the original Donkey Kong, like it feels very. I mean, this is like really the first like 2D platformer properly. And so like you're the jumping is very like kind of stilted. It's kind of, it's very just up and down, very stiff. And this game really does have a fluidity to it. It takes advantage of all the things Nintendo has learned as game makers, in that gap of time. I really appreciate that about this game. And I think like it reminds me of, in a weird way, and I know this is an odd comparison to make, but like playing the game reminded me of how I feel when I play Mario Odyssey. Like just how fluid the movement in Mario Odyssey is
Yep.
and how you're chaining together all these different movement actions. And
Yeah, it feels
it
like a
really,
3D game.
yeah. And like you're just like, it reminds me of how it feels when you're running around New Donk City in Mario Odyssey, where it's like, oh, I'm grabbing this thing and I'm flinging myself in that direction and I'm rolling and I'm sprinting and I'm jumping, and it's really really fluid. I can't overstate that, man. They
Yeah, I
nailed
mean,
it.
it could even be where the uh, inspiration for being able to swing on the signposts and stuff in
Mm-hmm.
Mario Odyssey came from in that level.
It
There's
feels
lots
like
of
that.
yeah, there's lots of that same kind of traversal happening. And speaking of the development of this, and how they, in a sense, remixed Donkey Kong, this to me is probably why we got the NES remixes for later on for other NES
Mm.
games,
Yeah.
because it's essentially a perfect template for how to do it. I mean, you just take the original content and say, well, I'm just going to add all these new elements, because that's that's how those NES games worked. We have all these new things that you can add to a game, and they make them for the better.
And can I
Yeah.
just say how exciting it is to be able to actually get rid of the hammer when you're done using it instead of having to
Yes.
hold on
Yeah.
to it till it goes. You could actually throw it, jump up, and grab it again on the next
Yep.
level up. I mean, it's
Oh yeah.
crazy.
There's some levels in there that require it. Like
You have
you have
to.
to you
Yep.
have to get real handy with the hammer. Like not even just throwing it up, but like trying to move it across a whole
Yeah.
level from like side to side and holding on to it. But and in fact, there's one. You know how you have the little timed power ups throughout the game, like bridges and ladders and things like.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
There's a couple levels where they have the hammer as one of those, like where you can just keep picking it up over and over again. It doesn't disappear.
Right.
So
So
yeah,
smart.
it's crazy. Uh, but yeah, just a little bit about the some of the things, just the basic outline of the gameplay in the game itself. We've already mentioned, you start out and you play the first four levels of the only four levels of Donkey Kong, the arcade
Yeah.
game,
Yeah.
and you think that it's just going to continue like it does in the arcade, but then you're treated to nine brand new worlds of gameplay, uh, which equals out to 101 levels of Donkey Kong, which is insane.
dude.
Like I said, this game is
Yeah.
huge. It's easily 3 times larger than Donkey Kong Country. If I'm really like, I think it took me about 6 hours to beat it, and I was
That
moving
sounds
at a
right.
pretty good pace. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's and I mean the worlds are so different. It's not copy paste. You have so many different ideas. You have a water world, like I said, airplane, snow,
Jungle.
jungle.
Yeah.
They're all just there's a desert level with some
Dude,
different things.
that
There's
that
more enemies
jungle
than I
level.
remembered. Oh yeah, the jungle is like they throw that at you right away, and you're just like, ooh man,
Yeah, there's
this
a
one's a little
jungle and
rough.
there's a forest, but they actually feel quite a bit different.
Yeah.
And you actually get some Donkey Kong Jr.
Oh
Yes.
yeah,
like revisited by like, I mean,
yep.
you're climbing up those vines, collecting those. I mean, it's like, wow, this is just how they basically incorporated that game into this too, um, and still felt fresh.
Yeah, the game really feels like the natural evolution of like not only the Mario series and the Donkey Kong series, just like both at the same time, taking everything that they learned from Mario and Donkey Kong at that place in time, and just making this sort of like ultimate, this like ultimate version of both of those in a new Donkey Kong game. And I gotta imagine, like I wasn't there in 1981 playing the original arcade game or whatever, and then playing this, but I have to that's like one of the great plot twists in game history. Like to go through those first 4 worlds like it's a normal Donkey Kong experience, like okay, cool, it's Donkey Kong again, and then like the girders fall, and then Donkey Kong's like, nope, it's not over. I'm gonna grab Pauline, jump up, and then you're on a world like a map select screen,
Yeah.
like it's a Mario adventure. Like that's so mind blowing to me that they pulled that off the way they did. And then yeah, to go into like John said, like 101 levels. Like what is this game, man? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it has Donkey Kong Jr. in it, which is the only time you really see him as an enemy. You're usually either you're playing as him or he's like a trophy or something in Smash Brothers. That's
Yeah,
about it.
the deep
He's very
lore.
annoying. He's very annoying with the switching of switches that he does.
I'd have to say the desert though. I don't know what it is, but I love the desert levels in Mario games.
Yeah,
And this one just, I don't know, I just that kind of that almost explorer, slight Indiana Jones-ish type,
Yep.
even though it's still a Donkey Kong game, it just has a different, just slightly different feel. It just feels unique. And those are some of my favorite puzzles actually in the game. I mean, it wasn't too, I mean, it was still fairly early on, so they weren't overly difficult, but they're so much fun.
Yeah, it seems like desert games in Mario always change up the formula quite a bit. There's always a lot more going on in those levels. The only desert level that I don't like in a Mario game is Mario 64 with what's the name of that one? It's like
is
hot,
it just yeah, like is it just like hot desert or
hot dunes or something like that.
something like
It's
that? Yeah.
yeah, that level's
Okay.
garbage. I hate
Yeah,
that
I'll give
level
you
when I play
that.
Mario 64. That's the most annoying. It's like you can't walk anywhere. It's quicksand.
Yeah, I hear ya. I do just love too this idea of like Donkey Kong kind of diverging into 2 different paths in 1994. Like I
Yeah,
kind of like this idea of having like 2 branches of Donkey Kong kind of making themselves like planting their flags in the ground of like, okay, this is what the classic Donkey Kong formula is now. This is the evolution of the classic Donkey Kong formula. And of course it would go on to kind of the Mario versus Donkey Kong series is kind of like the natural progression of that.
based. Yeah,
Exactly. But then you also have on the flip side Donkey Kong Country, which would obviously go on to be like much more popular. but I do love that there are kind of two different flavors of Donkey Kong that existed at the same time.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, definitely don't sleep on the Mario vs. Donkey Kong games. They're also very good, well crafted. Uh, Definitely feel the same way where you're working with a lot less, but you get a lot more out of it. Type of feel that this game has. They're definitely doing some unique things in those games,
Yeah.
whereas Donkey Kong Country kind of just seemed to stay in the same vein. Just you know, getting a little more a lot more
Just
difficult
let's
as it
do
goes on.
that, but more. Yeah.
Yeah,
And don't get me
until we
wrong, like
get
I love
Funky
Donkey
Mode.
Kong Country. I don't want Dan to like disown me as a friend. I love Dan. But like Donkey Kong Country definitely is more like safe, I feel like, than this
Yeah,
game and the other games.
yeah. I mean, even Dan has admitted that Donkey Kong Country, the original one, is very uh, like it's the best one in the series. To we both kind of agree on for that, but like it's also the played it safe platformer type game.
Right.
And then the second game, a lot of people say is better, but I don't know. We both like the first game.
The second game is my favorite, so
Yeah, mine
that's
too. I
only
mean, this
because it
isn't the
takes
Donkey
too
Kong
long.
Country episode, but
Right,
it's a
right,
great
right,
game.
right.
It's a great game. I'll take nothing away from Donkey Kong Country. Although I will say, I want to throw this out here too, since we're talking about classic Donkey Kong. I do like this might be a hot take. Pauline is my favorite Mario love interest. Always has been. I'll take her over Peach. I'll take her over, I guess, Daisy. Not really. And I'll also take her over Rosalina. Like I think I love Pauline because a lot of people when Pauline pops up in Mario Odyssey, a lot of people are like, who the heck is Pauline? You know,
Yeah.
but to have that kind of history that goes all the way back to and that carries forward into the Mario versus Donkey Kong series where it's still Mario going after Pauline, you know, and I kind of
Yep.
like that. I kind of like that they have so much history and, you know, Peach has never had anything for Mario anyway. So, you know,
Yeah, she just wants him to save her all the time, but
yeah, he gets a
that's
cake
it.
every now and then, you know what I mean? But like,
Yeah,
I like that. I like that Pauline, they have that kind of history together. So Pauline is best girl. That's my hot take.
Well, not to
I
mention
mean,
she becomes mayor of New Donk City,
Right.
so
She has
I
yeah.
mean,
prospects. Yeah.
that's right. She's going places.
A
I mean,
singer.
technically, according to the lore that we got from the 1993 Mario Brothers movie, uh, Daisy is Luigi's girl,
True.
right?
And they typically pair up Daisy with Luigi also, you know, so I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Mario is saving Daisy in the Mario Land games.
Mario Land games, yeah.
Kinda, I guess the first game. I don't even know if she's in the second game. Now that I think of it,
I don't think so.
no, I think you're
That's just
literally
because
just
it's
trying
just
to hunt down
Wario.
Wario.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
well,
but it's
she didn't
but
make
I
it very
love
long.
Pauline. I love Pauline. Pauline should get more love, man.
I'm with
Yeah,
you.
it's not until recently that she's been in uh, more games. Like she was in, wasn't she in Mario Golf Super
Yeah,
Rush?
Yes.
it's
Yes,
actually
that was cool.
who I play the most of in that game.
And
Nice. Good
then
man.
maybe tennis. Did she make it in Aces? I
I
can't
don't know if
remember.
she was in tennis.
I
I
don't,
didn't play that
I don't
much of
think
tennis.
so.
She may have been DLC or something,
But
but
really, I mean, in the not until the Switch came along was she even playable in any games.
yeah, she's
It's
not
kind
in
of a new
cart still.
no,
So
kind of a new deal. Well, that's because Card is actually a 10-year-old game.
yeah, that's
Mario
fair.
Kart
Close
9.
to
Let's go.
it.
She'll finally make it, hopefully.
Yeah, we kind of touched on this too, but each one of the levels has a uh, set of 3 items that belong to Pauline that you have to collect in order to unlock a bonus uh, mini game at the end of the level when you complete it. I think one of them is a purse, one of them is an umbrella, and I'm not sure what that other one is. Let's see, it's purse, umbrella, and
Yeah, I don't know what
I'm
it's
not sure
supposed to
either.
be. I don't know if it's
I
supposed to be like shoes or something.
yeah, I can't remember what the
Somebody's
third one
shouting
is.
right now at their
Yeah,
phone.
somebody
Oh
is
yeah,
shouting. I'm sure
you idiots!
it's It's
It's
really hard to depict on the Game Boy with those sprites, but
a few
I could
pixels, dude.
definitely tell. Yeah, I could definitely tell that one of them is a purse, and I could tell the one's an umbrella for sure. Yeah, but
Yeah,
the other
yeah,
one
it's a
I'm
few
kind of
pixels.
lost
Give me
on.
a break, man. And then
Yeah,
they throw in like one ups and stuff like that. The extra lives are in there and whatnot that you can collect. But then yeah, it's cool because if you collect them all, like not only does the game calculate like your score, your remaining time and stuff at the end of the stage, because the game does incentivize you to get through the levels as quickly as possible. That score will then translate into additional lives at the end of the set of levels that culminate in the boss fight. But then between levels, yeah, when you collect all three of them, you get a little mini game. You get like a little like slot machine or roulette wheel that'll give you
yep,
more lives. It's really fun.
Okay,
yeah. And
guys.
I mean,
Apparently, it's her hat. I
A
just looked
oh,
it
it's
up.
a
hat.
hat. That's a
Yeah,
hat.
Got it.
Okay.
because then you that which makes sense because then in Odyssey she wants you to collect those items when you're in New Donk City for her.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
So
right.
it kind of
Makes
continues into that.
sense. Makes sense.
Nice continuity. It's a great thing.
I love it.
Um, but yeah, as you get going past the first four levels, each level will now contain a key that you have to get and a door. And sometimes that door isn't even visible. There's a couple levels where the door is invisible, and you have to, at the beginning of each level, you'll see the help. You know, you'll see either Donkey Kong go in a door, or you'll see a door that just says help coming out of it. So in order for you to know where the door's at, you have to be paying attention at the beginning of the level to see where it was actually at. Because I made that
Right.
mistake. I was like, "Where is that dang door?" I forgot. And even the cast of like just odds and ends enemies that are in the game. You know, you got some bugs looking guys. You've got, I think one of them is like a hedgehog, uh,
Yeah.
and then there's the trash can guy that you
Right.
don't even know exists because you've been like picking up and throwing trash cans at enemies the whole game, and then you go to pick one up and a guy comes pops out of it.
There's a lot of weird little enemies like that. I'm a sucker
Yeah,
for. I love dumb, obscure Mario enemies, and like it is kind of funny that you don't see like some of the traditional Mario enemies in this game. Like I know it's it's a Donkey Kong game, so it doesn't really make sense, but you don't even really get too many of the traditional Donkey Kong enemies. I mean, you get like every so often they'll throw in one of those like fireball enemies or whatever, but it
yeah.
doesn't take long for them to ditch that. You know.
I mean, that's really the only
Yeah.
original Donkey Kong enemy is the fireball that comes out of the burn barrel
Yeah.
or the oil.
I was trying to figure out if the bugs were supposed to be, from the original Mario Brothers game, um,
Yeah, one of
before
them's a
Super Mario
ladybug.
Brothers, or if, yeah, some of them are just, yeah,
Well,
couldn't
and that's
quite figure
another
it out either,
thing.
but they
Some of them
work.
aren't
They
enemies.
work.
Some of them are allies. So you have
Yeah,
to
like
like learn.
platforms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to learn which ones are being used as moving platforms, and because you get a blend, like the level that Seth was talking about earlier, you have to let the ladybugs out and try to keep
Yeah.
the other spiky bugs in because you can't ride on them and they get in the way whenever you're trying to
Right.
ride around a level.
Yeah. They give you
Uh,
very little room. You can't really jump over them, but you have to
yeah,
figure out how to let the ladybugs out so you can ride on their back and get up to the higher platforms. So cool. I love that.
the like I said, there. I think there's one that's in the forest level, the first world there. That I think they're supposed to be hedgehogs. Like whenever
Mhm.
I kind of looked at some of the sprites in more detail, and I'm pretty sure that that one's a hedgehog that's in there. The one enemy that you can't touch, because that's again, you also have to learn which ones you can touch and which ones you can't. Because kind of like in Mario 2, some of the enemies you can eliminate just by jumping on them and picking them up, and you can throw them. And even in the water worlds, you have some different types of fish. There's a squid. There's just all kinds of things going going on in there.
Yeah.
And then you can also use the key as a weapon. Like that's
Yeah.
something that
Yes.
I forgot for a long time. I was like, oh wait, the key is a weapon. I can use it to just destroy all the enemies in my path.
Yeah, that's where I was saying that the some of the actions that you can do are very reminiscent of Super Mario Bros. 2.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
where once you get the hang of that and start thinking that way, it's like, okay, this enemy, I can jump on this enemy, you pick it up, I can throw it, I can, and then you start doing the same thing with the keys. And some of those levels, you really have to use the key a lot just to get through the level before you can even get to the door. And if you don't pick that key back up in time, it'll
It goes
actually
back.
reset,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
which screwed me over more than once.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Some of the hardest ones are whenever you have to maneuver the key through the conveyor belts, and like you have to switch the conveyor belts back and forth to get the key to its destination, and then you have to be able to
Mm-hmm.
get there fast enough before it goes back to its original spot.
Yep.
So I mean,
Oh
just
yeah.
the some of the level design, it's just crazy that this is all on the Game Boy. Like this definitely could have been an NES game, like a full console game. I
Oh
think
man.
it would have sold fantastically, but
Another thing
maybe
that I think about too with I love how the game kind of forces you to like observe the enemy's patterns and really get to you really kind of have to get to know the way the enemies are going to operate. There's a really good example that I can think of. We talked about the ladybugs that you can kind of like ride on the backs of, and there's a couple of enemies like that you can kind of utilize as platforms. There are these enemies that are like these stone dudes that can walk on spikes,
yep,
and it's really cool. There's a level, I think it's in the ship world, where on the top half of the screen you've got two of them that are kind of like walking back and forth on spikes. Then you've got one at the bottom that's just standing there. You're like, what's he doing? And then like you come to realize that, oh, I can create a bridge to have him walk over, go onto the spikes, and then I could use him as a platform to safely collect the key. And I just that's so brilliant to me, the way that they illustrate top half of the screen. This is how the enemies are reacting. This is the way they work in the rule set of the game. Bottom half of the screen, this is the puzzle you have to solve
yep.
with that knowledge. I love that.
There's also one where the enemies are all up top, and there's a set of spikes on the bottom, and you
Right.
have to toggle a bunch of switches to work them down to the bottom to be able to walk across the spikes. That one takes a little while too because you got to traverse the top half of the level and then come down the other side and start operating the switches. And I remember the first time I'm like, the key's over there. There's got to be some way to cross these spikes. And like I was just racking my head and I was like, oh wait, I forgot those stone guys. You can ride them on the spikes. But yeah, there's just all kinds of just all the creativity. There's so much going on in this game. Every level feels at least somewhat different. Some of
Mm-hmm.
them feel kind of like just we need an extra level for this area, but the majority of them feel like very well thought out. There's a different theme for each one, something you have to figure out that's special, and that's the what about the one of the allies that you have to use is a monkey whose tail hangs off half the platform, and you have to
Yes.
ride his tail
Right.
across.
It's brilliant, man.
There's just there's so much good stuff. Like I said, and I mean they teach you that early on because there's also some aspects of Donkey Kong Jr. in this game where you can climb
Mm-hmm.
vines, and you learn really fast that if you're holding on to two vines, you can move a lot faster.
Yep.
And then there's the stupid birds that lay eggs on you while you're climbing on a vine. That's
Yeah.
something you're not expecting either. Because I just was like, you're kind of like Seth was saying. I'm sitting here watching this bird's pattern, and he's just flying back and forth. So I wasn't thinking anything of it. I climb halfway up the vine, and he stops and lays an egg, knocks me off the vine.
Wrong neighborhood. Yeah.
Yep. Oh man. No, that I don't know. The more I think about it, this is probably my favorite Game Boy game, at least of its kind, like puzzle game.
Yeah, it's up there for sure. Like when you compare it to some of the other like just great Game Boy, your Metroid 2s, your Link's Awakenings, like those games maybe have more like narrative, fat to chew on or whatever, or more atmosphere or whatever. Like Link's Awakening is still one of my favorite stories in any Zelda game. And then, Metroid 2, just like Metroid always does, it nails the atmosphere. But when it comes to gameplay, when it comes to actual like gameplay innovation and creativity, Donkey Kong 94 like is unmatched, dude. Like it's absolutely unmatched. It's still stands shoulder to shoulder with any puzzle game releasing today for my money, like straight up.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, I even made mention like you could it could be released as an indie game today, and people
Yeah.
would just eat it up. Like if you just reskinned it and used some of the same ideas they were doing, people would be playing it today, talking
By the
about
way,
it.
why aren't people doing that? Like that never
I,
ceases to amaze me. I'm like, why isn't there some indie studio that's just like, you know what? I'm just gonna do Donkey Kong 94 again. Like I'm just gonna do this, but with
or even
different
take
characters.
take the good parts out. I mean, all of it's good, but I mean the parts you can use and get away with using, and just create different puzzles. There's all kinds
Just
of
steal
things you
it.
could
Where's
do
my
around it.
Donkey
Yeah,
Kong 94 clone, man?
Somebody somebody get the Popeye license, and we'll go backwards.
Ooh.
And
yeah.
because they couldn't get Popeye, so they made Donkey Kong. Now somebody can't get Donkey Kong, they get Popeye.
That'd be kind of
That's
sick actually.
it would be, and it's funny because at that point in time, Popeye was huge, and today
Right.
nobody cares about Popeye.
Yeah,
That's
instead of
right.
Pauline, you got Olive Oil. Instead
That's
of
right.
what's his name? Is it
Yep.
Bluto? Is that
Bluto.
the
There you
yeah.
go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bluto. Yep. Donkey Kong. I mean, it worked perfectly. Like it's pretty crazy how the Mario universe was adapted from that.
That's so funny. Yeah. Yeah, you just throw Wimpy in there and good to go. You're good
Oh,
to go.
man, who would Wimpy be? Would that be Yoshi?
Yeah, that's Wimpy's Yoshi.
Eating the burgers.
Yeah. Glad you traded Tuesday for a hamburger today. You
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Just the good old Wimpy floating around from the smell of a burger.
know.
So I can't think of. I was trying to think of if we left anything out, but I can't think of anything specifically gameplay wise. We talked about the handstand. We talked about the little flick jump, where if you move the D pad in opposite direction
Yeah.
while you're jumping, you'll do a higher jump, like a flip jump.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, and if you're doing the handstand and an enemy falls off of a platform or a barrel, you can catch it with, like, kind of tip it over with your feet, and then you can go back
Yes.
and pick it up. Man, that last, we have to talk about the last boss fight at least. I forgot about that. We definitely don't want to leave that out, but where you're playing, or you're fighting against the giant Donkey Kong,
Big
because
old Donkey
Oh
Kong.
yeah.
I think you get shrunk by a mushroom is how they explain that. Because yes, this game has the poison mushroom in it from Lost levels as well.
Right.
It
Of
makes you shrink,
course it
which is
does.
very very annoying whenever Donkey Kong Jr. is throwing them at you and you're trying to go across the level. But yeah, that last boss fight's a doozy. You have to do some pretty good maneuvering out of the way, and the only way you can get the barrels is by catching them with your feet.
Yep.
In that fight, and man, it's you have to be quick uh, to get a barrel tipped over and then get to it and pick it up before he smashes it, because he moves pretty quick. It took me a while to get the timing down the first couple times I attempted it. Is I would get the barrel turned over and I would go to pick it up, and by the time I get on top of it, he's already slamming his hand down and breaks it. So you
Yep.
definitely have to choose your battles, because just like any Mario game, you get hit once, you're done, unless you're holding something.
Right. Yeah, I love some of the boss fights in the game. I also love, this is a really tiny detail, but like I love some of the little like animations that Mario does, that like you
Yeah,
really get some personality with Mario in this game just by the animation. That kind of reminds me a little bit of Super Mario World. Like whenever he lands one of those backflips, he kind of raises his arms, and if you can
yep,
actually survive a pretty long fall. If you fall too far, you'll die, but you can survive a
yep,
pretty decent fall, and he'll kind of fall and he'll kind of have like the one little twitchy finger up and everything, and
yep.
like
Like
an
kind of puts
anime
you out
or something.
for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good, like kind of a Wile E. Coyote kind of vibe.
And if you fall from too far, he gets the classic like the little halo as
Yes,
he
I love
died.
that.
And like sometimes if you hit the B button at the right time from a good distance, he'll do a roll instead of the uh, one where he just kind of falls and gets stunned for a
Right.
little while. But you also have to watch out because sometimes that roll will be the last thing you need, and you'll just like roll off a platform that you weren't trying to.
Yeah.
I've had that happen plenty of times too. But yeah, no, that loss that last DK fight's a little bit of a doozy. It plays totally different than the rest of the ones. So like you're figuring it all out at that point. But even the ending of the game, it's like the it's almost like the way the story goes. Like they're all friends after
Yeah.
it's all
Of
over.
course.
They all
So I
show
Yeah.
up on the
chased you,
ending screen. They're all just hanging out.
yeah, I chased you all over the world to save this girl, but it's all good. We're all friends.
There's that weird interview with Miyamoto where he said that like he views the Mario and the Mario universe characters as like they're all like putting on a play or whatever. So that's why you can see them being enemies in one game, see them racing carts together in another game or whatever. That's why the Mario 3 aesthetic is all like stage play kind of thing, you know.
Yeah,
So that so it makes sense that at the end of the game they're kind of, you know, it's almost like a little encore at the end of the play or whatever. It's like, oh,
yeah.
we're
They're
all
just all
friends.
giving their bows, and the whole
Yeah.
thing's just for fun. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's just for
Nobody
fun. Who cares?
nobody got hurt in the filming
In
of
the
this.
making. Yeah. No actual donkeys or Kongs.
Yep. So yes, now I think we've talked about it all. I think we've covered all the gameplay.
We crushed it.
Uh, I have I could only find like really there wasn't really any good facts, but the one thing that did stand out to me is that this game is where Donkey Kong gets his tie for the first time because the conceptual art for
Mm,
this game came before Donkey Kong Country, and the art for Donkey Kong 94 actually came from a sketch from Miyamoto, whereas uh, Donkey Kong Country's Donkey Kong came from Rare designers instead of
right.
Nintendo.
Like Kevin Bayliss or Steve Mails or
Yep.
somebody. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I love that. I love little, you know, factoids like that. Like little and like the Donkey Kong lore is kind of funny anyway, how like you have the original Donkey Kong who goes on to be Cranky Kong and then Donkey Kong Jr. is the Donkey Kong that we know or
Yeah,
whatever. And
it gets a little crazier than Nintendo likes, and
yeah.
I think that's because of Rare, because Rare likes shenanigans. Like when you really get deep down and you look at all their games, they're like a running joke, and like they just have a totally different sense of humor than Nintendo
Yeah,
does, and you
right.
kind of see it bleed over time with Donkey Kong. Uh, but and I mean, there's some funny things going on in Donkey Kong too. But like the Rare's later games, like Conquer and even
Mhm.
Banjo Kazooie, there's lots of non at that time non Nintendo humor that would not be in a Mario game or something of that nature that I really like. And I'm glad that they got Donkey Kong when they did because like I don't think Donkey Kong would have survived another decade without being handed off to somebody else to get a
Right.
refresh.
Right. You're
It'd
right.
probably
I
be.
think that's a great point.
Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, really, that was one of Miyamoto's only things. He's like, Donkey Kong just needs a refresh, and he needs something to establish himself, to make him different. And that's how he got his tie because it's iconic. It's kind of like Mario and his hat. It was a way for people to, put it all together and say this
Mhm.
is what he is, and he's not the same from the arcade game. But it was just kind of funny to learn that because I assumed that the him wearing the tie in this game came from Donkey Kong Country, but kind of reading around a little bit, found out that the Miyamoto actually made sketches himself for this game to put the art together, and I think that's how Rare got their Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Interesting because it's so iconic now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now he doesn't leave home without it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he sleeps with it on now.
He does.
It's much more sophisticated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's ready
He's a
for a job
classy
interview
monkey.
for sure.
Oh yeah, he's classy. I love that though, and you have to imagine too when Rare was like gearing up on development of Donkey Kong Country, they were probably talking to each other, and being like, "Hey
Oh
guys,
yeah,
like this is this is kind of where we're going with Donkey Kong. We want Donkey Kong to like have this kind of identity now." And I'm sure that's what ended up working into their design for Donkey Kong. But yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I do just love that we can have these two flavors. I would love it if still today, like if we still had that kind of Donkey Kong Country game, but at the same time had that kind of traditional 2D Donkey Kong game, like that old school style like this. Like that would make me like so happy if like just you got your country game and you got your old school style Donkey Kong game at the same time.
yeah. I mean, could you imagine if they created the like even just a remaster of this game, but it was in like the same engine as Donkey Kong Country?
Yeah, be awesome.
Something super
Mhm.
colorful and you know very polished. I think it would look awesome. It would be
Yeah,
it'd be a treat similar to what we got with Link's Awakening when it moved over. Just hopefully without frame rate issues.
right. Yeah, tell me about it. I love there's certain games that like just would scream like do nothing to the game. Just redo the graphics or whatever, make it modern. I would love if they were to take this game and do kind of a hand drawn, like almost like a Wario Land Shake It or like a Way
Yes,
Forward kind of hand drawn cartoony look to it, but with the exact same gameplay. Oh, that would be sick. Ah, that'd be awesome.
it would. I don't know if we'll ever get it. This game seems to be like
No.
kind of forgotten, but I mean, it did live on with the Mario vs Donkey Kong games, but they're not a one to one gameplay comparison. There's lots of different things going on with those games,
Yeah, they
especially
popped
as they
and
started.
fizzled a little bit.
Yeah, so I don't know. We can keep our fingers crossed. Maybe we'll get some kind of update version of this, or maybe we'll have convinced an indie developer that they need to hop on it and make something for us.
Yeah, shoot this out to indie devs, guys. Just steal Donkey Kong 94's ideas. Just make your own. Make an indie
Do it.
DK 94. Well, look. I mean, look. Doug Bowser listens to my podcast, so Doug Bowser's listening right now, and he's jotting this down. And
Uh, uh, well, I think that's about it. I think we'll wrap it up. I like to give you guys at least one more chance if you could think of anything that we missed. Uh, if not, you guys can go ahead and kind of just if you have something that you would like to promote. I know Seth, you have several ventures. I don't know
many
if
things.
Shannon is uh, decided he wants to do any kind of content creation or not, or just where he hangs out is
You
fine.
should.
Well, hopefully this summer I'm planning. I've got a couple of games that I'm thinking I'd like to try to stream.
Yeah.
Actually, part of that, Seth, is because of you and the influence of Keep Nintendo Weird.
Oh,
I don't want to jump into your stuff, but I love the idea of going back and playing some of these forgotten games. Like Maniac Mansion or
yes.
Princess Tomato and Salad
Ooh,
Kingdom,
yes.
and
Oh my gosh.
just these weird games that like nobody thinks about anymore, and but were such a key part of my childhood. And so hopefully we can get some stuff going this summer. And I don't really do much in the way of social media these days, but I'm always on Discord for and retrologic and all the community of podcasts, Nintendo Dads, All In, Nintendo Pails. So I'm around.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. You can go ahead next, Seth. I know you got a
Yeah,
big list.
I'm about to say I have a lot of things. I guess I'll try to be brief, but I think we crushed it, guys. I think I think we did a great job talking about DK94. Everybody, go play it. It's on the Virtual Console for 3DS. Go play it while you still can. While you can go on there and grab it on 3DS Virtual Console, do it. It's so good. If we haven't convinced you enough, man, come on. So I think it was awesome. Thank you so much for having me. And it was great to sit here and chat with you guys. Shannon mentioned my show, Keep Nintendo Weird, which is one of my podcasts where it's just me and a guest talking about a weird Nintendo game. It's just about the love of a weird Nintendo game. Shannon here, a man after my own heart, talking about the kind of weird undersung games that are worth talking about, worth highlighting. And that's what that show's all about. I do that kind of just whenever I can. You can search Keep Nintendo Weird and find that. My main show, which is a weekly Nintendo variety show called All N, a Nintendo podcast. You can search All N, ALL letter N podcast and find that. And that's just kind of a variety show. We do a bunch of different facets of being a Nintendo fan. We cover indie games. We do weekly top fives. We talk about all the latest news. I do that with my co-host Eric, and that's a lot of fun. I stream like most nights of the week. I'm going to stream right after we're done recording this. Right now, I've been playing a lot of Xenoblade Chronicles on stream and stuff. That's twitch.tv/allinpodcast. And make a lot of YouTube videos. I do video essays on YouTube. That's youtube.com/allinpodcast. So, yeah, there's a lot, y'all. There's a lot. Well, we'd be here all night. I don't want to take up your entire evening, but there's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, definitely go check out all the stuff that Seth's doing over at All In. He's even doing a video series on Mario Bad Guys. We just were
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, by the way. That first video.
Thank you. I had so much fun making that. I just debuted that. It's a new little video mini series called Behind Enemy Lines. And yeah, I have all this knowledge and lore of dumb like Mario enemies. And so I'm like, I can just pop out these little quick 3 to 5 minute videos, just, bite-sized videos about the lore behind Mario enemies. So yeah, I did my first episode of that last week about the Goomba. So that was a lot of fun.
Awesome. And yes, also congratulations on episode 100. It was fantastic.
Oh, thanks, dude. Yeah.
You guys make me buy more games all the time because I need to buy more games.
That's a common thing. We have people in our Discord are like, oh, like every indie showcase, you got me buying a new game. Come on, man. RIP my wallet.
Yeah, we have a similar problem with retrologic, and
Yes.
we'll be talking about a game and somebody's like, oh man, I remember playing that. I need to go find that now.
Before you know it, 7 copies of Mischief Makers just got bought off of Mercari.
Yeah, we had the whole Plock movement at one point. I think we owned all the copies.
Oh, the price of that game drove up about $15 on average, I think, just because of retrologic.
I think so. I think we definitely had a more of an influence than what we were expecting to by pushing it between all the community stuff.
Plocktober coming up soon, man. Only a few months away.
That's right. Every October's Plocktober. That's another one that I'm surprised that we don't get any indie games that kind of model after, because it's a totally different type of platformer than what we're used to.
Hey, the way we inspire this change is doing what we're doing tonight, guys. Talking about
it. Talk about it. Bring it out. So, with that being said, I'll go ahead and announce the next show will be Earthworm Jim 2. As our community voted, it's the next in line for Retro Rewind. We've been playing it since the beginning of the month of May. There's still plenty of May left, like 20 more days if you guys want to play Earthworm Jim 2. And I'll be putting out the questionnaire for engagement here soon, probably in the next week or so, just to see what kind of format the show will take on. If I get lots and lots of people that want to come on, we'll just do kind of a chilled, relaxed sit down, everyone shares an experience. If I get less people engaged, then I'll do like a normal show where I'll pull up a bunch of information and we'll just run through the whole game. We'll run through the ringer. And basically how the Retro Rewind works, and I've explained this before, but every other episode of ontopicretro will for the most part be a Retro Rewind game. I think it works out to where there's a couple times where I'll have a couple shows in between, just because it's every other week and not bi-monthly. But anyway, everyone gets it's like a game club, so everyone can just play the game at their own leisure, and then we all get to talk about it. It's all kinds of fun. Uh, Everyone's invited to leave experiences that they have in the game in the Discord if they don't want to come on the show and talk about it. And if you don't have Discord, which I highly recommend, they're all fantastic communities that we promote here on the show. But if you don't have Discord, you can drop your experiences at ontopicretro@gmail.com, and I'll pull them from there and put them in the show. I don't have any problems with that either way. Either way works. So just as long as I get good experiences and everybody's word gets heard, I'm fine with however it gets delivered.
I love it.
But yeah, that's the show. So thanks for listening to On Topic Retro. It's part of the Retrologic family of podcasts, which is kind of under a larger umbrella of the Nintendo Dads umbrella of podcasts. It's kind of weird how that works since we both have a few different families, but it's all good. It all goes somewhere. Dude. It is.
Yeah.
Well, one big happy family.
Yeah, man.
And like I said, if you want to join our Discord, which is Retrologic's Discord, you can go to retrologic.games. There's a link there you can click on to join. I would also like to say that you might as well go over and mosey on over to Seth's All In Discord, because there's a lot of good fellers there too. People that love games. That's the name of the game. Everyone wants to talk about games, and that's the place you go to do it. So it's definitely the place to be. So that's it for this episode. There will definitely be more. So stay tuned and listen up. And I'll see you guys later. Bye now.
Ta-da!